I always assumed that if my family ever cut me out of their lives, it would happen with the kind of explosive shouting you see in movies, slammed doors, shattered plates, dramatic ultimatums. But reality is quieter, more surgical. It slices without warning, without raised voices, without the mercy of anger. It began on an ordinary afternoon, with dust floating lazily in the sunlight and my mother folding satin napkins for my brother's upcoming wedding. Everything in the living room was wedding-themed: color palettes, cake catalogs, seating charts. I stood awkwardly among the celebration plans that somehow never included me. My mother didn't even look up when she spoke the words that would split my life in two. "The greatest gift for your brother's wedding," she said calmly, smoothing a napkin crease, "is you vanishing from this family forever." A sentence delivered with the same tone she used to ask for sugar or pass the remote. No tremble. No hesitation. Just a decision already made. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline that never arrived. My father sat across the room, polishing his glasses the way he always did when he agreed with something but didn't want to voice it. Liam, my brother, wasn't there. He rarely was when these things happened. It made it easier for him to pretend he didn't know. I felt my throat tighten, but I didn't let it show. I'd spent years training myself not to take up space, not to breathe too loudly, not to ask why I was always the one expected to sacrifice. Maybe they mistook my silence for compliance. Maybe they relied on it. "I see," I managed to say, though my voice barely sounded like mine. My mother finally glanced at me, and for a moment I searched her expression for something: regret, guilt, softness. Anything. But there was only impatience, as if my existence was a wrinkle she wished she could iron away. "You always bring conflict, Era," she sighed. "This wedding needs peace. You understand." Peace? I almost laughed. If silence and scapegoating were peace, then yes, I had been their peacekeeper for years. I didn't argue. I knew arguments never changed anything in that house. They only reinforced my role, the burden, the inconvenience, the emotional sponge absorbing everything no one else wanted to feel. So I did the one thing I had left control over. I packed. I walked into my small room, the one tucked behind the laundry area, the one they always said was temporary even though I had lived in it for 12 years, and placed my few belongings into a suitcase. Folded shirts. Books. A necklace my grandmother gave me before she died. My hands trembled, but my resolve didn't. No one came to stop me, because no one believed I would leave. But I did. When I pulled the front door open, the house hummed with the sounds of wedding excitement, laughter, clinking glasses, celebrations I had never truly belonged to. I stepped over the threshold. The door swung shut behind me. It closed with a soft, final click. Not a slam. Not an explosion. Just a quiet ending to a life I had spent too long surviving. A full stop. And maybe, the beginning of something else. Something mine. The world felt enormous the moment I stepped outside. Not beautiful, at least not yet. Just enormous. Overwhelming. Loud. The air tasted different, too. Not freer, not sweeter, just unfamiliar, like stepping into someone else's life. I stood on the pavement with my suitcase handle digging into my palm, trying to understand that for the first time in my life, I had no one to report to, no place to return to, no instructions waiting for me. No home. My phone buzzed once in my pocket, a message from the family group chat that I was still in at that moment. "Mom, we need to finalize table numbers tonight. Don't come." That was it. No follow-up. No goodbye. A few minutes later, the notification read: "You were removed from family group. Digitally erased." Efficient. Almost sterile. I walked until the houses turned into shops, then until the shops blurred into neon signs and open windows spilling laughter from strangers who had no idea a girl with a suitcase was trying not to fall apart beneath the streetlights. My legs were shaking by the time I reached a rundown hostel that smelled of detergent and too many stories squeezed into too little space. The receptionist looked at my suitcase, then at my face, and gave a soft sigh as if she'd seen this moment play out 1,000 times with 1,000 different lost people. "Long night?" she asked. "A long life," I answered before I could stop myself. She handed me a key without further questions, and I climbed the creaking stairs to a tiny room with a single bed and a cracked window. I sat down, staring at nothing, waiting for the fear to come crashing in. It didn't. Not exactly. What came instead was exhaustion, thick and heavy, like all the years of holding myself together were finally slipping off my shoulders. I lay down still wearing my shoes, and the darkness swallowed me faster than I expected. The next morning, sunlight sliced through the cracked window and illuminated the dust floating in the air like glitter. My suitcase sat in the corner like a quiet reminder of how little I owned. For a moment, panic clawed at my chest. What now? Where do I go? Who am I without them? Questions without answers. But hunger pushed me out of bed. I wandered down the street and found a small bakery with foggy windows and warm smells drifting out like an invitation. A sign on the door read, "Help needed. No experience required. Must be willing to learn." I stepped inside because I had nothing else to lose. The bakery owner, a woman named Syra, looked at me with sharp eyes that somehow felt kind. She didn't ask where I came from or why I looked like someone who'd cried themselves into exhaustion. She just asked if I could start today. So I did. I spent the day kneading dough, wiping counters, burning my wrist on a tray, and learning the quiet rhythm of a place where no one raised their voice. The work was simple, but something about shaping dough, watching it rise, watching it turn into something warm and whole, it soothed something inside me. When I went back to the hostel that night, my clothes smelled of flour and yeast instead of arguments and accusations. I breathed easier. For the first time, I wondered if maybe, just maybe, life outside the door wasn't meant to break me. Maybe it was meant to rebuild me. The days leading to the wedding passed in a strange blur. Not because I missed them, but because I kept waiting for the familiar tug of guilt to pull me back home. It never came. Instead, life at the bakery settled into a comforting rhythm, the hum of early morning ovens, the chatter of customers, the warm scent of rising dough. It was a rhythm that didn't require me to shrink or apologize. Sometimes I caught myself checking my phone out of habit. Not hope, habit. But the screen stayed silent. Until it didn't. The morning chaos began on the day before the wedding. My phone buzzed with a number I half recognized, one of those distant relatives who only contacted me when they needed gossip or pity. I let it ring out. But then came a message. "Era, something happened. You need to call home." I almost laughed at the absurdity. Call home? What home? Still, the words planted a seed of unease. I shoved my phone into my apron and kept working, telling myself it wasn't my problem. Couldn't be. Wouldn't be. But the buzzing continued, another message, then another, then a flood. "Your mom is crying hysterically. Liam is furious. There's shouting at the rehearsal. Someone said you caused this. Where are you?" Caused what? I hadn't seen any of them in weeks. By noon, the bakery phone rang. Syra answered, then looked at me with raised eyebrows. "It's for you," she said softly. Someone sounds desperate. I hesitated before taking the receiver. "Hello?" At first, all I heard was frantic breathing. "Era?" a voice whispered. "It's Mina. Your cousin. You need to come. Your family, everything is falling apart." I gripped the counter. "Why would that have anything to do with me?" "It's because you left," she said. "And because they lied. A lot." My stomach tightened. What lies? But Mina was interrupted by yelling in the background, a woman screaming, someone else shouting back, the unmistakable chaos of a family caught in its own traps. "I can't explain now," Mina said. "Just, everyone is finding out the truth." Before I could ask more, the line disconnected. That afternoon, guests started arriving in town for the wedding. Apparently, so did the rumors. Some said I'd left home with stolen money. Some claimed I'd threatened the bride. Others said I'd refused to attend out of jealousy. The stories contradicted each other, but they all painted me as the problem. The truth, however, finally leaked through the cracks. Apparently my mother had told her future daughter-in-law that I had emotional outbursts, that I ruined the engagement dinner, that I couldn't be trusted around family events. But someone had confronted her, someone who knew I hadn't even been invited to that dinner in the first place. And that confrontation spread like wildfire. By evening, my phone was exploding with calls from every direction. One message from an unknown number read, "Your absence ruined everything. Come back now." Another, "Liam knows. He's demanding answers." Another, "Your mother fainted during rehearsal." Then came the final ping, a text from my brother himself. "Era, please. I need to talk to you. I'm so sorry." I stared at the screen, the bakery lights reflecting on the glass like tiny stars. My heart didn't twist with longing. It didn't soften. If anything, it steadied. They wanted me gone. They got what they wanted. Now they wanted me back only because their lies had caught fire. I set my phone down, dusted my flour-covered hands, and continued shaping the dough. Their panic wasn't my responsibility. Not anymore. The morning after the wedding was supposed to be filled with photos, laughter, and glittering memories for my family. Instead, it was silent on my phone, eerily silent, like the calm after a storm that destroyed more than anyone expected. I didn't check the news. I didn't scroll through relatives' posts. I didn't ask how it went. Because deep inside, I already knew, a celebration built on lies collapses the moment truth knocks on its door. And I had not knocked. Their own guilt had. I arrived early at the bakery, the rising sun painting the street in soft gold. I unlocked the front door, tied my apron, and began my usual tasks as if half my family wasn't probably tearing each other apart over the truth they had tried to smother under wedding decorations. The phone buzzed once. Then again. Then a third time. I ignored it. Syra walked in with her usual brisk steps. "Busy morning?" she asked, hanging her bag on its hook. "Looks like it," I said, sliding a tray of dough into the oven. She studied me for a moment, too perceptive for my comfort. "You don't have to answer them, you know." "I'm not," I replied. "Good," she said quietly. "Some people only want you back when they need someone to blame." Her words landed like a warm hand on a cold shoulder. Around noon, the bakery bell chimed and I glanced up, expecting a customer. It was Liam. He stood in the doorway wearing yesterday's wrinkled suit, eyes red and exhausted. The sight should have made something inside me ache, but it didn't. Not the way it used to. "Era," he breathed, voice thick. "Can we talk?" I didn't step toward him. I didn't rush into his arms. I simply wiped my hands on a towel and nodded once. He came to the counter slowly, like someone approaching a wild animal afraid of being bitten. "The wedding," he started, then closed his eyes as if the memory pained him. "It was a disaster." I waited. People found out. About the lies. About Mom. About everything. His voice cracked. "Era, I didn't know. I swear. I should have protected you." "You should have," I agreed softly. "But you didn't." He flinched at the honesty, but I didn't say it to hurt him. Only to acknowledge what had been true for years. "I want you to come home," he whispered. "Please. We can fix this." I took a deep breath. "Home," I said, tasting the word like something foreign, "isn't a place I return to because someone suddenly feels regret." His shoulders slumped. "You're my sister," he said. "I love you." I offered a small, sad smile. "Maybe you do now. But love that appears only when the wedding collapses isn't love I can trust." He didn't argue. Maybe he finally understood. When he left, the bakery door chimed its soft farewell, and I felt something settle inside me, something strong and steady. Not triumph. Not revenge. Not bitterness. Peace. 6 months later, I moved into a small apartment painted in warm colors. I filled the windowsills with plants, learned to cook for myself, bought second-hand furniture, and laughed more than I ever had in my parents' house. People came into my life, good people, who didn't ask me to shrink or apologize for existing. Sometimes my family called. Sometimes they didn't. But their chaos no longer reached me. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. Not watching them fall, but watching myself rise. Free. Whole. Finally mine.